Hello, just wanted to talk about game setup and walk through those steps and then the phases of the turn. So for our game setup, first thing we're going to do is bring a constructed 6-card deck, a team of agents, and um, make sure that deck is shuffled. And once that's set, we will randomly pick, or you can intentionally pick an X-File card, and that will be placed somewhere on the field next to your conspiracy point pool. We'll also generate a resource point pool, and both of them start with 5 in each. Um, the next step would be to reveal our agents and who we're going to be using in the game. You can see I have a Jerry Lamanna, Agent Alex Krychek, Albert Holstein, and a Fox Mulder. You can see all of their point totals at the bottom add up to 20, which is the maximum amount allowed for your starting group. You can have more agents in your deck that you can play, and they can help you for a turn, or there are other ways to add them to your teams if you have the correct cards. But this is how you establish your starting group of agents. At this point, we would place any game-related tokens on anybody who needs them, and that would be described down here in their game effects. And then we will set all of our agents over here in what we call the bureau section, basically where your deck is. Also contains your pool of resource points. Once both players have set up their fields and revealed agents, side note, each of us can have a Fox Mulder, and each of us can have an Alex Krychek. There's no uniqueness when it comes to revealing the agents for each player. Next step would be to draw a hand of 7 cards. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That is your starting hand. There is no mulligan rule in this game, so it's kind of up to us or whoever you're playing with to decide how you want to handle mulligans. If you want to do full mulligans or London mulligans or partials, whatever it is. Um, then we would begin the game. So the phases of the turn, or actually let me explain the field. The field is the bureau, the field is where your sites will be played and where your agents are going to go. And then over here is the hospital. Hospital is where your agents will heal if they're damaged or injured while they're in combat or out in another card effects might send them there. But you have these 3 main areas, the bureau, the field, and the hospital. You can move your agents on your turn in between all of these areas, and there may be card effects, like I said, that will move agents to these different spots. Um, but we'll get into that a little bit later. First thing we do on our turn when we start is you always draw 1 card. Then what we do is we would create resource points equal to all of our agents' resource skills and add that to our resource pool. So I have 1, 1, 2, and 2. So that would be a total of 6 that I would add to my resource pools. And now I have more resources to utilize during my turn. Some agents might put restrictions on you, like Mulder, who says his resource points have to be used to draw cards. I'll explain that in a moment. Other agents might be like Alex Krychek, where he gives you the option to put them into your resource pool or your conspiracy pool, playing the double agent role. Other agents may have an increased amount of resource that they generate depending upon where they are in the game field. Specifically, Skinner, if he's in the bureau, he generates 3, 1 more than his normal 2. Most agents will have 1 or 2. After we've drawn our free card and created our resource points, now is when we would buy cards using our resource points. The decision of how many cards you're going to buy has to be made at the one time. So you can't draw a card, pay 1, look at it, okay, I want to draw another card. It has to be done in a manner of like, I'm drawing 3 cards. You then pay the 3 resource points and draw 3. And that is all you get for the turn. After the active player does that, the opposing player, conspiracy player, then has the opportunity to sell cards that have a blue or purple resource cost for that number of conspiracy points. So if I were to sell this site for 2, I would generate 2 conspiracy points. You then, as a conspiracy player, can choose to draw a number of cards. Same rules apply that they did for the active player. Next step would be healing. So if we had any agents over in the hospital that were injured, say Mulder's over there, and he has been injured by combat or some other reason, let's say he's got 3 wounds on him, he would heal at this point. Agents with a health value above 3 heal 2 points a turn, right? Agents with a health value of 3 or less heal 1 point a turn. Your agents typically cannot leave the hospital until they are fully healed, and then they can start moving around again on the playfield. Next would be the requisition phase. This is where you would purchase equipment and attach it to your agents that are in the bureau, okay, unless the card says otherwise. Cards like the hospital crash cart, you will require them, or requisition them, but then they play into the hospital field or maybe out in the investigating area. Next would be our deployment phase. This is where you move your agents, like I said, around. If we want them all to go out into the field, they all go out into the field. If they want to come back to the bureau for some reason, or if they're coming from the hospital, they can move to any of the other sections. Next would be the case assignment phase. This is where it has a couple of steps to it. First and foremost, we need locations or sites to investigate. So this is where I would play and then pay for the site. That doesn't necessarily mean my agents are there or investigating that, because I might play several sites, but the sites I'm intending to potentially investigate that turn would be played into the field. After I'm done playing my sites, that is when the opponent or the conspiracy player will be able to play bluffs on those the sites, and interact with my sites that way. Remember, we talked about bluffs will be put underneath the sites if you want to have that cost reduction. Otherwise, you can just play them when it is appropriate. The next step in the turn is called investigation. This is when you would assign your teams of agents to the different sites that are out there. Since I have the one, I just might send all 4 of my guys out there. But maybe I don't want to risk the safety of Alex, Krychek, and Mulder, so I just send these 2 agents to that site. And there's ways to indicate that, right? By putting them on the site, splitting them up, things like that. So, important note here is that Mulder and Krychek are not at this site, and nothing at this site can affect them. Okay, so adversaries, bluffs, things like that, they are not at this location. So they are invulnerable to whatever happens here. So here is again where we would play adversaries keyed to the site, or more bluffs if you want to play them from hand. Events that have the red in them would be played at this time if it is appropriate. Um, and then after all of those cards have resolved, my game effects might happen. I might have events or witnesses that I play to help me bolster my investigating ability here. We check the number here, which is 4 plus, to what I have here, which is a 4 on Albert Holstein and a nothing on Mr. Lamanna. So I have the required 4 plus to meet the requisite here. Once I do that, we resolve the site, and I get to ask an affiliation question because I successfully investigated the site. We do this for each site, okay? And I may play sites out here that I don't even ever go to, right? Like if you just stack it with bluffs. But here's the thing, if a site is out there and it has a bluff attached to it, it doesn't get discarded, it just sits out there. So I do have the opportunity to come back. If a site is out here and I don't go to it and nothing is played on it, then it is just simply discarded at the end of the phase. After investigation is completed, that's pretty much the turn. And then we go into our debriefing phase, which means it's basically an elaborate word for checking our hand size. Our hand size is always 7 cards, and in anything over 7, we have to discard down to 7. So again, if you draw 5 cards in a turn, you might as well make sure that you're going to be playing most of them. Or, as can happen with some of these, you start to lose cards from your hand and you just never are really at 7. There are cards that allow you to increase your hand size, but they're few and far between. Maybe we'll see them, maybe we won't. And once I'm completed my active player turn, it now becomes your active player turn. And my opportunity now to play events, bad guys, bluffs, things like that. And we go back and forth. until someone's figured out the X file.